First down for the Lions. Goff's got it back. Lofts it right side. Wants Tesla. Does he make a one-handed catch? Oh, don't you tell me he did that. Oh, rookie, you are something else as he slides out of bounds.
They forgot about who we were. It's like they forgot that we're fighters, all right?
I just noticed that was a cheese grater. I ain't never seen that before. That's dope.
31-21. You're first here.
The 2014 team was our best bet. And I'm going to tell you why. That penalty, we beat Dallas that year, right? We had the second best defense in the league, if you remember, behind the Legion of Boom, which historically was one of the best defense, if not the best of, well, one of the best of all time. And we had a better offense than Seattle did. They had Marshawn Lynch. They had the young Russell Wilson. That Reggie Bush, that Calvin.
And what's going on here? Welcome to BlockBuster Sports. Come ye, come y'all to the greatest football chat of them all. We have a whole bunch of special people here. We have Gary Stills. He used to play for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he has a couple of sons that played in the NFL. We're going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. We have John Macaroon, the Ducks in the house. Man, we got Johnny Gaz in the house. Man, this is a whole bunch of big-ass podcasters. Me and Donnie, my co-host here, we're going to have a great time. Let's do it. John, take it away. I'm going to produce, make the best show we could have. Let's talk about it, guys.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, the Detroit Lions, the big talk of the week. Now you're going to play the Kansas City Chiefs. Another litmus test, playing an NFC opponent that really is the class of the AFC. Now, this year, clearly not the record-wise, not as great as it has been. But look, you're playing Patrick Mahomes. You're going out there, and the talk now with the Detroit Lions is, and I'm curious to get your guys' sense because it's the next man up mentality, and everybody knows it, that going through the league, how tough it is. Terry and Arnold and DJ Reed, two, in the past couple of weeks, two starting cornerbacks for the Lions are out. So the Lions are going to count on, and people are wondering, okay, what are they going to do? Well, I think that right now, by all accounts, you're going to see Amik Robertson and Rock Yassin on the outside. Maybe you'll see Avonte Maddox at the nickel. You'll have probably an opportunity to utilize Brian Branch in a couple different ways. I'm curious, what do you guys think about the Lions and the loss of two starting defensive backs? Look, the Lions have been through it. I think Amik Robertson is very underrated. I do think that he's got the ability to play on the outside and compete. The Lions trust him inherently. And Rock Ya-Sin is a veteran that's played with the 49ers and has kind of really taken to the system. They like his ability to play man coverage. So I'm curious your guys' thoughts now, because the Chiefs, listen, I'm always of the opinion you need your full arsenal when you're going up against Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a great contest, in my opinion. Prime time. It seems like Goff and Mahomes seem like they get up for these kind of games. I'm curious what you guys think about the Lions and their plight now, down two starting defensive backs. We'll start with Gary. I'm curious your thoughts if you follow the Lions and what your thoughts are. Just the next man up mentality when, hey, you're rolling and there's no time to sit back and wait. Guys like Amik and Rock Ya-Sin, they got to come in and they gotta produce. There's no sitting back and waiting. And Dan Campbell said, look, that's why we have practice. That's why we go hard. We go out there and we give these guys reps, one-on-ones, ones versus twos. We give them real reps so that when it's their time and they get called, they got to step in and do the job.
Well, I don't have any issues with backups, but I'm saying if you coming and playing with Patrick Mahomes and them guys that can run, you got Hollywood Brown.
Oh, we lost him for a minute. Well, Johnny, we'll get you first, and then when Gary gets back, we'll catch his opinion.
Yeah, I think where Gary was going with that is you can't be hurting your defensive backfield when you're going against Patrick Mahomes. But the Lions have done some good things this week. And number one, you said it, John, is they're going to rely on
hit your mute button, Johnny.
Me? You got me? You guys good? Can you guys hear me? Johnny Mac, you got me, bud? Okay. Gary's back with us. But yeah, I mean, I think I like a lot of what the Lions have done this week, but I think ultimately they're going to rely on their depth pieces. They like Amik Robertson, but they brought in Trey Flowers, they brought in Nick Whiteside, and then now they've also brought in Arthur Mullet. So they're restacking their depth. So I think that's ultimately how they're going to deal with the loss of the two cornerbacks. And Dan Campbell's the next guy up mentality. You said it. So that's really going to carry the day here.
Your thoughts, Donnie? What do you think about the Lions secondary and how they can rebound without Terrion and DJ Reed?
Well, I'm gonna kind of take what the 10-year veteran Gary Steele's just said about backups or backups, and you got to be nervous. I love Amik, and Rocky's a good player too. But I feel that the line is the key to beating Mahomes this week, with us being thin on corner and of course safeties. And we have to put pressure on Mahomes. If we could put pressure on Mahomes, that may help us out with the secondary and the cornerbacks.
Yeah, no doubt. It's an interesting matchup. What are your early thoughts about the matchup? Chiefs, that was a crazy Monday night game. I thought that the Jaguars there having the opportunity late to get the game and handle business. I'm a little bit surprised. I thought Liam Cohen, first-time coach, would have a little bit of a struggle, but he's got some bravado. I think that, there's always different scenarios in which you say, could it go like Aaron Glenn where you're winless, or does it start fast like, what's happened with Jacksonville? And they have talent. Clearly, it starts with the quarterback spot. And I think you see that, guys that have Trevor Lawrence and some offensive weapons can probably have a little bit more success. But I'm a little bit concerned because the Chiefs, I don't think are going to want to drop back games. I think you're going to get their best contest. So it's going to be a nice litmus test. I believe that the Lions are going to go out there and play their best game, want to dominate in the trenches. And it starts with making sure that Patrick Mahomes isn't the story of this game. What are your thoughts about this game?
Ooh, yeah, here you go, Johnny.
There we go. Yeah, I think this is a great matchup. I mean, the Lions have proven that they can win anywhere. They're not afraid of any team, any contest, going on the road, even against Patrick Mahomes and Arrowhead. And I mean, it's a tough environment. Sunday Night Football, primetime. I mean, so to me, I agree with what Donnie just said. The way that they ultimately help their secondary and the way that they get after this is by containing Patrick Mahomes, their pass rush. I'm curious, Johnny, if you think that we're going to get Aleem McNeil back this week. Have they said anything about him added to the pass rush in the interior, or do we think we're still a week or two away? Regardless, that's the biggest thing for the Lions. If they can get pressure, if they can contain, and they showed it against Caleb Williams, and I think they can do it. I really think it's a good matchup.
Yeah, Donnie, your thoughts? What do you think about this matchup? It was great because the theme this week, the early questions have been to the coaches and to the players. What did you learn from 2023? And Dan Campbell joked and quipped a little bit like, hey, we kind of played like it was the first game. A lot of mistakes. There were some things that were done that clearly, you kind of realize, okay, how the team plays in week 5 is vastly different than week 1. But look, there's a comfortability, I think, that a lot of these guys have played at Arrowhead, GEHA Stadium at Arrowhead. They've played there. They know what it's like to be in that rowdy environment. I think that Sunday night primetime is a great opportunity. And look, it's not the same team. They have weapons in the wide receiver, Thornton, Rashee Rice. You always got to worry about Kelsey and Mahomes. But I think top to bottom, the Lions are playing at a level right now that if they get it rolling, we're going to talk about the defense. And hopefully when Gary comes back, we can talk about the defensive end spot because he's a prime expert to kind of fill us in on if the fan base was wilding out about these defensive ends. But I think that top to bottom, the Lions are, I think, heads and shoulders. When you start seeing some of these key matchups and who has the edge, you're going to see the Lions being favored in a lot of these matchups.
Oh, absolutely. And this offense is a fine-tuned machine right now. We're scoring over 30 points a game. That's the true test. If Kansas City, I've kept up with them all year, but when they get behind, if they get behind by 2 scores, 3 scores, kind of like Cincinnati, what are they going to do? I mean, that's a hole. And that's what the Detroit Lions offense is doing right now. We're putting teams in holes. And we'll see what happens, man. Our defense, I think if we stay steady, we'll be fine. I really do. I think the offense is going to continue clicking. If Kansas City is going to beat us this Sunday night, they probably want to score at least 40 points.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Goff won the last question that Jared Goff was asked today. When you guys check out the YouTube video, he was asked, like, in the moment, did you really appreciate that you were involved in like two teams dropping 50 points when the Rams played the Chiefs? He's been very successful against Patrick Mahomes. And he said, well, no, not in the moment, but yeah, being part of a classic, one of the all-timers. Everyone goes back to that game where he went toe-to-toe. And it was one of the great games. I'm kind of hoping. Listen, I love defense. Who doesn't love sacks and hits and stuff like that? But just based off the Tigers game, listen, man, scoring is amazing. I'm all for a game in the 40s, and let's see a game that's competitive and with the Lions coming out hopefully on top. But look, Calvin Shepard would not be all that thrilled if it was a game like that. And I do think the Lions defense is really, really underrated and should be more of a talking point. When you look at the linebackers, I mean, you're seeing it right before our very eyes. Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes. You can make the argument that's a top 3 linebackers unit, not in the conference, but in the whole league. They're playing great. They're able to get pressure. They're able to do a lot of different things. Derek Barnes is a player that Calvin Shepard, when I asked, he said that, he wanted Derek Barnes on this team, and that's why the extension got done. And you're starting to see a player gain confidence that he can go out there and play a variety of positions, and that allows the defense to do a lot of different things. What do you guys think about the linebacking unit here with the Lions?
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
I'm over here fighting for my life over here. I don't usually follow the Lions, man. So when we speaking on other teams, man, I couldn't even give you that. I mean, I couldn't even answer that, honestly.
I believe we need to introduce you first, and I don't believe we've did that yet. All right, viewers. Gary Steels. Gary Steels is a 10-year NFL veteran. He played for 3 teams. He played for Kansas City, Baltimore. He finished his career with the St. Louis Rams. He was an awesome player at West Virginia University, where he had all Big East honors. And we're lucky to have him as a guest tonight. And here's your question, Gary.
Yes.
You were a linebacker, my friend.
Yes.
You were a linebacker. So give us the insight of the linebackers. That's what we're talking about.
I mean, as far as just linebackers, period, man, you got to be able to, of course, make plays, come downhill, But linebackers are different, Look in Kansas City, you have Nick Bolton, you have Tranquil. Like, they just are rovers, man. They never really sitting in the box. Sometimes they're outside the box. Sometimes, one of them's in there. It seems like they're playing dime. Sometimes it seems like they're playing nickel. But if you ask me, based on the linebacker position, I don't even see it half the time. So I'm used to a traditional 4-3 or 3-4, and guys sitting in the box waiting for things to happen. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't look like that nowadays.
It seems like nowadays, too, the linebackers, a lot of them are assigned to cover tight ends.
But they can run, yes.
Yes, and Kansas City has a beast. I know he's getting up there in age, and he's got his little tay-tay and all that good stuff, but he's still a weapon. And, I hope that Campbell or Anzalone or whoever we decide to put on him, they can at least stick with Kelsey. He's tough.
Kelsey, he reads his routes are read, so it's not like he's doing anything based on the playbook. Him and Patrick got that little thing going. But as far as I know, we mentioned earlier about them cornerbacks. I'm saying, look, if you got some backups, and I don't have anything against backups, but if you don't have your premier players out there, Patrick gonna pick them guys apart, guaranteed. Guaranteed.
He'll be tested, right? Rocky.
Oh yes, definitely.
He'll be tested. That's the fun part. I think that's where a lot of us are wondering about the strategy that the Lions are going to deploy. It's going to depend on that defensive line. And so, Gary, I'm very curious. Here in Detroit, the talk was about pressuring the quarterback and getting sacks. And clearly, we have an alpha in Aiden Hutchinson, but they did find 2 others in Al-Quadin Muhammad and Lacey to kind of do the job. But I'm just curious. Just from a global perspective, in your time, how challenging was it to battle these offensive linemen, because now it seems like they're much more hefty and more athletic, and just, their athleticism has just gone through the roof over the last 5 years. It's a difficult proposition, especially with these advanced blocking schemes and the way in which these offensive coordinators can chip, add in more linemen. You got tight ends coming in and trying to help out these offensive linemen. It's not an easy proposition for a defense to pressure the quarterback. And now the caveat, which here in Detroit, we're not taking advantage of yet, but maybe in the future, these quarterbacks are so mobile that they get the ball out quick, that we're complaining about defensive backs and linebackers not getting sacks when the average quarterback gets the ball out in 2.2 seconds. And it is wild. It is a wild position, but in the end, it's a position here in Detroit that we're looking at very closely. And especially coming on the heels of stopping Lamar Jackson, we got to do the same job and try to contain Patrick Mahomes.
What they've done in the NFL nowadays, they've opened it up where you take, of course, that tight end and you put him outside the defense. So now you push whoever that Sam linebacker or that nickel cornerback, you push him out, or even bring up the strong safety, right? So then you have, but the defensive ends they don't have any other responsibility outside of just rushing a passer. You know what I mean? So when you look in the interior, their responsibility is to play and run. Because the NFL has changed to more of a passing league, they got to find a way to bracket. And these quarterbacks are mobile, but they're smart, right? And if you got those tight ends that are route reading, and once they get out of the pocket, you see Patrick. Even you seen last week where Trevor Lawrence was kind of using his Patrick Mahomes clones to kind of get out in space. So everybody's a copycat league, of course, but the defensive ends are a lot different now. The quarterbacks are a lot different, and moving that tight end outside of the defense makes a complete difference in how you got to actually even play, and it's kind of hard to get sacks.
Gary, I'm curious, how did you shape your game? How was your game molded in college prior to you getting drafted in the league?
Well, in college, it was a lot different because I was a grown man. You know what I mean? You couldn't bring no young freshman in there and try to block me, of course. Or you bring a tight end, and tight end couldn't block me either. But going into the NFL, man, you got a Willie Rowe, so you got a Jonathan Ogden. It's completely different. So you had to become more of how smart you are versus how athletic you are. So I was played more in my athletic realm, and then when I got in the league, I had to get smarter. And the more knowledge I got about it, within the league, the game slowed down, and I was able to make plays. So yeah, you got to transition mentally, because physically you got it, but where's your mind?
When did you start thinking that, okay, there's a possibility that I can take the next jump from college to the pros?
Oh, when I was 11 years old, I knew I was going to the NFL when I was a kid, because it was about that. You know what I'm saying? So when I was 11 years old, and I decided I wanted to play football, I knew I was going to play pro. I mean, I don't know. I know that sounds probably arrogant or cocky, but yes, there was no other option. I had it in my mind. I was already pro in my mind when I decided I wanted to do it. So going from high school to college it was an easy transition to me because I had already put myself there mentally.
No, I love hearing that, because there's such an interesting dichotomy of how to look at young athletes and how they progress and how they can reach their goals. And you had a laser focus that this was what it was going to take. And why West Virginia? What was that? What was the reason why that school was the spot for you?
Well, actually, it came down to West Virginia or Rutgers, and then it was more like West Virginia was far enough away from home to where I can feel like I'm away, but Rutgers was too close. It was 30 minutes from my house. It was in New Brunswick. I was from New Jersey, and West Virginia was the best fit for me, feeling like I had to leave home to go be successful. So that's how I made the decision. And also West Virginia had the names on the back of their jerseys too. And Rutgers didn't. I said, look, I want to shine a little bit. So it worked out. It worked out real well. And it's another story behind that too. So
a commenter, Steve, gets in. Gary, what was one of your favorite sacks back in the day?
oh, My first when I had to play Marshall in the first game of the season. I had 4. I had 5 sacks, but they didn't count that other one. It was on Chad Pennington. That was probably my best game in college. And then actually going into the pros, my first sack was when Chad Pennington was with the Jets. So all in all, I got most of my career sacks on him. Yeah. So it was the most memorable. It was more the game, and we had a bet. A few guys that were Henry Slade was like, whoever get I said I'm gonna get the first sack. He said he was gonna get it, and I wound up getting it. And I wound up getting 2, and I wound up getting 3. I said you behind Henry, man. I done got 4. You ain't got 1 yet. So we laughed about it. And I think he wound up getting 1.
No doubt. Tell us about your draft experience, what it was like getting your name called, and just that, because you listen, when you're 11 and you have these big goals, you're putting in hours.
Yes.
And at college, the student athlete thing, the way in which you grow up, you got to, execute, you got to do the job. And there's some pressure there because, you said you were laser focused. And then take us through your draft process and your experience. And then when it's like, when you find out, all right, I met and reached one of my biggest goals.
Well, that day, it was different because the first, second, and third round was on the same day, and I had high hopes to be drafted first and second round, but I had some injuries coming out of college, so I didn't even know I got drafted to Kansas City. I walked outside, I kind of got myself together because I was getting a little bit emotional because that patience, that's like one of the most stressful times. I walked back in the house, and then I was on the bottom of the screen and my name came up and I was like, oh my God. The first thing I said was, oh wow, I get to play with Derek Thomas. And then Gunther Cunningham was the head coach and he called me and I was ready to go to Kansas City. So yeah, it was a stressful time, man, just waiting because the draft started at noon. I didn't get drafted till 9 o'clock that night. It was like working an 8-hour shift, man. I was like, and then had an hour lunch break. I was stressed. And then when they called my name, after I saw it, it went across the bottom of the screen, and then the highlight reel came up, and I said, "Whew, it's over," and now it's time to rock and roll. And then I was headed to Kansas City. I had to go back to West Virginia first, but then I was headed to Kansas City.
I got one more question before I think Gaz got a couple great things he wants to ask you. I'm very curious, Coach Cunningham. We were very familiar with him here in Detroit. What was he like as a coach? How did you relate to him? How did he, try to get the best out of his players? Any interesting stories about the very famous defensive guru?
Well, when he was in Kansas City, he became the head coach. So then Schottenheimer was the defensive coordinator. So I didn't really get to experience Gunther on that until he came back, in 2004, I think. But him being a head coach, it was cool. I didn't really affiliate too much with the head coaches because at that time, you got Derek Thomas, you got Leslie O'Neal, you have some veterans that really took care of the young dudes. So I didn't really have much interactions with him outside of calling me on that draft day and letting me know I'm coming to Kansas City, and in my mind I'm going to play with Derek Thomas. So that's pretty much how. But I didn't have the experience that because he's a knucklehead. Oh my, Gunther was something else. So when he came back to Kansas City as the D coordinator, we had our little spat, but I wound up going to Baltimore after that. So everybody know Gunther Cunningham was a piece of work.
I appreciate you taking.
God rest his soul, but he was a piece of work.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time with us, Gary. Yeah, I kind of wanted to hit, kind of a before and after your career. You went from Valley Forge Military Academy and then started West Virginia. You guys your family's legendary there, and then had the lengthy NFL career. Can you kind of walk us through a defining moment or a turning point in your early life or your college years that kind of shaped your approach or the adversity that the NFL kind of got you started?
Well, like I said, I was watching the Super Bowl back in 1987, and I saw Lawrence Taylor, and I actually got to meet him last year for the first time. And I told him the story. I saw him, and I said, I want to be like that. A week later, went to talk to my parents. I said, I want to make it to the NFL. I didn't know anything that went along with it. So I just watched the pros. So when I got to high school and when I went to college, I was doing everything on a more of a professional level, the stance, the motivation, the running, the image. I was following this image of being a professional football player and didn't know anything about it. Then went to West Virginia, had a few injuries, but like as far as like different turning points, man, it just was, it was poor growing up. Uh, I found something that I can attach to.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Lawrence Taylor gave me the invitation, unknowingly saying, son, you can do this by seeing what he was doing. And I took it, I ran with it, and it actually, got my family out of Trenton, New Jersey, and it just worked out. And actually, I can't say that I knew that I exactly what happened. I think the universe just put me in a place where I could make things happen, and everything just kind of flourished from there. So that's why it's kind of hard for me. Like I couldn't coach what I thought. I couldn't coach what I did. It was more like the universe just had it for me, and I followed the energy, followed God, and it took me right to where I need to be.
I,
I can honestly say that.
I appreciate you being candid. I appreciate that story. That's great. And I want to connect with you a little bit here because I have an 8-year-old son who's getting into sports now himself. He loves playing baseball, and you yourself have 2 sons that sort of followed in your footsteps and played football, not only West Virginia, but also in the pros. Has your perspective on the game changed now that you're seeing it kind of through their eyes compared to you being the former pro?
No, my perspective on the game is only because of the rules that they changed.
Yeah.
Right? So it has nothing to do with the boys. I'm just glad that, and I always wanted them to say, if this is what you want to do, not if I influence them, great. But at the end of the day, this is the time, this is the motivation, this is the passion that you have to put in. Like me and your mother, we are here to support you in whatever you're doing. But we need to see that this is something that you want to do. And Janine's something special, man. She put the time, she sacrificed her life to make sure them boys got to where they needed to be. And I can give her all the praise and the thanks. And she's a wonderful mother. And she did exactly what she needed to do to get. I said, you're special, man. You're 3-0. From me to them two to all NFL. And then she got another son. Uh Day, he's gonna be in the NFL. I said, this is a special woman right here. So yes, I can say that, you know, it wasn't hard for me to balance out being a parent because I understood the business part and I wanted to make sure I stayed within that and not be their coach. I got on them, don't get me wrong now. I jumped down, they throw it a few times, but I just want to kind of keep it like I'm your father,
Yeah.
too. So, and they didn't listen half time. I took them to a couple camps, and I showed guys that I played with, and they showing them the same thing. I'm looking like I'm showing you the same thing, son. So then they said, "Okay, Dad, now we believe you." I'm like, so what's
Totally
that
get
all
it.
about? So yeah, it worked out for them. Yeah.
I totally get it. I appreciate you. I got one more. I'll lighten it up on you real quick. You
All right.
spent time with the Chiefs during your playing career, and obviously you know now Arrowhead's energy and the expectations that are there. Can you tell me kind of what it's like stepping on the field at Arrowhead in that Kansas City environment? I mean, we know what Detroit's environment is here. We've the guys that are sitting in this podcast know the passion and the fire behind the Detroit fan base, and I know that Kansas City is very similar. Can you just describe what it's like to play and on Arrowhead and in big time games like that?
I mean, think about it, man. For the last 7 years, since Patrick has touched the football, we've been in the AFC Championship. So the expectations are so high that even now we're like we're not out because I think our first Super Bowl was a wild card. So Kansas City at this point is never out of the question, and he has brought a belief system that you can. And I'm an ambassador, so I'm part of the organization through the community part.
Yeah.
And you know, Super Bowl, man. I mean, like we three-time Super Bowl champs in the last 7 years. I mean, and been to the show. It's just it's lovely. It's like you can go wherever you want, and can't say whatever you want. You can't do whatever you want. But the energy, the passion, the drive, man, it's just amazing. You know, I like driving to the stadium because they still treat me like I play, so they don't ask for my parking pass. I just keep going. But I
Gary,
gotta stand.
I gotta ask you about Dante playing defensive end for the Cardinals. I know you watched the game, obviously, and so you're sitting back, you're watching the game, and
Which one? This last? Ooh.
yeah, I got to ask about it. You see the running back, like you said, scared of backups a little bit. He gets into the action and he runs all the way, makes a key play, and gets to the end zone, and unfortunately doesn't cross the end zone. And it caused an issue with the coach, and there's talk about it. Listen, I'm of the opinion the coach should have cut him right then and there, but it happens, but it's a mistake. But I'm just very curious in regards to on a team. Maybe we could look at that specific play when something controversial like that happens and you see a teammate make what you would call a boneheaded mistake. How does the locker room handle it? Does the leaders police that, or does a vet just say, hey, this is the fundamental? That's not the standard of football, because, clearly the number one rule is tuck the ball in, go into the end zone, score the points. And sometimes, it's happening more and more. Shocking to me seeing it, but man, that was costly and it caused a big disruption with the coach. And it's just tough for the player. But how does something like that handle it? And did you talk to Dante about it?
Nah, I haven't talked to Dante yet. I haven't talked to him because there's a lot of things that happened in that game. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But then even with the with the bobble and the quarterback getting hit in the head, it was a whole lot. But I say, remember Deshaun Jackson made that mistake with the Eagles, right?
Yep.
That's not something you get on the player about. Like, you got to just be like, you got to really say, yo, that's a once in a lifetime situation that'll happen to any player. You got to just be like, man, yo, keep your head up. You made a mistake. If anybody's going to get on him and try to beat him over the head, at the end of the day, they need to be checked, because that's not something you beat up on him about. You know what I'm saying? I could see if he was turned around 5 yards and start taunting the other dude versus, he thought he was crossed. I mean, sure. I almost made that mistake one time before until I looked. I had a 58-yard touchdown against San Diego. And I looked, and I was at the 5-yard line. I thought I was at the goal line. And I had to jump over another player, and I fell into the end zone. This is my rookie year. I don't know what happened, but I got in. But at the end of the day, if I was a rookie and made that mistake, it would have been a real, real big problem. But, I mean, it was a whole lot of stuff happened in that game that wasn't the determining factor. That was just a clown show that was, I don't know what the Cardinals did, but the universe was like, you're not going to win this game. And we're going to make sure you don't win this game. But I didn't think that should have been a touchdown. That little tobacco that they had when the ball was going all over the place. I just thought that should have been an incomplete pass. If you ask me.
Donnie's got a question for you.
Yes, sir. I'm a family friend. I'm real good friends with Janine, Dante and Darius's mama. We both went to the draft parties, Darius and Dante's draft party.
Mm-hmm.
The first party with Darius, I gave the man a Detroit Lions hat because I wanted to draft him before the draft even started, and I felt like I jinxed him, so I didn't bring Dante a hat. Question I got for you: between your draft in '99 and Dante's draft, which one was the most stressful?
My draft.
Your draft?
Only because, like, when it came to my boys, I know the business. I wasn't too stressed. He was the one stressed because he was going through it. And me and his mom was just, we kept ourselves together because, Janine can be an emotional wreck. She did a great job keeping herself together, and he was trying. But I just say, I understood. I went through it, and I said, you good. Just be patient. Just be patient. If it's probably something I never went through, I probably would have drove me crazy because I would have been more concerned with what I didn't know about it, but because I knew, and I just wanted him to get there, get in the league, and once you get in the door. But as far as the stressful times, I understood, and I let him do his thing. So it didn't stress me out as much. It bothered me, but I didn't more for him. But I was like, you're going to play in the NFL, and once you get there, then once he got drafted, he felt 10 times better, and I knew that. I said in my mind, I said once he gets picked up, he's going to feel 100% better, and it happened. So just based on my experiences, I understood. So it gave me a little bit more relief on the stress level. And Janine did a great job as well.
And we couldn't be any more prouder of him. And I'm telling you, man, if the Lions have an opportunity to sign him when his rookie deal's up, please. This
No,
kid
no.
is
I already
got
talked. I already talked to Brett Veach. Don't worry about it. He's not coming to Detroit. I promise.
Oh,
I
he might
talked to
end up-
Brett Veach. I said, look, we're one pick away from my son. And I guess he was like, he didn't pay me no attention, but I know he heard me. Because I said, don't even worry about it. But he's not going to Detroit. But I'm gonna tell you one thing. I give Detroit credit. When we played them that the first game of that last year or 2 years ago, whatever.
2023.
Man, y'all leaned on us good, man. I said, Detroit. I don't know what they was doing in that running game, but y'all leaned on us good and still almost lost.
Yeah, no, the Lions have set up a winning program now, trying to reach the milestones that the Chiefs have been able to accomplish. And look, man, Coach Andy Reid is well respected, and anybody that can play for the Chiefs is definitely going to have an opportunity to succeed, especially with Coach Spagnuolo. But this week, listen, Detroit's got to go in there and continue to just battle in the trenches. Listen, this team is built on being able to run the football. You got David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, two complementary pieces on offense. You got Sam Laporta coming off of a good game. You had J-Mo, who is emerging as an elite wide receiver, and he's doing some complementary things to help the offense, not even getting targets and still doing things. And you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is somebody that is now emerging as somebody that everybody pays attention to. So it's going to be a great opportunity. In my opinion, I do think it's going to be a heavyweight contest back and forth. And I do think it's going to probably not end up in the 40s, but I do think that the Lions in the end just have too much weapons. And listen, Dante, Gary, you'll appreciate this. The Lions, they go in there and tell people, we're coming to beat you up. And if you end up winning, so be it, but you're going to know you're in the fight. And that's what's great about the Lions is on both sides of the ball. They're not hiding from it. We're here.
That's not a good thought. That's not a good thought process to have.
You can tell me your opinion why, but in my opinion, I think the Lions end up winning this game somewhere in the neighborhood 37-34, and I think it'll be a great contest. But everybody will know when this game ends that the Lions came to town. Why in your mind is it not the right mindset to come in and say, listen, we're coming to beat you up, handle your business, and let everybody know that we were here? That's the mindset. Because I don't know, you heard the coach kneecap speech, right? 5 years ago when he came to town, he was trying to uplift the locker room. He was like, we're going to take everybody's kneecap off when we come and play you.
Well, now the reason why I said that's the wrong thought process to have. I was like, are you coming to win or are you coming to just fight? It's like this. Whether we win, lose, and draw, we want to make sure we beat you up. It's like this. Kansas City say, look, no matter what you think, we're going to beat you. Period. We don't have to beat you up. Them two corners going to get burnt because they knew they just got here. And that's going to be the big problem. And you're lucky Rashid Rice ain't here. Because if Rashid Rice was there, it'll be completely different. But Thornton, you got Hollywood Brown, and you got they're doing their thing, and you got Travis Kelce picking what route he want to run, and all he got to do is get open and make sure everything good. So yeah, that secondary gonna get ate up. And if they sit in the box and they got a great running back, but I'm telling you what, them boys on defense in Kansas City, and Nick Bolton to track anybody.
The difference is not every team has a secondary. And when I say secondary, we got two of the best safeties in the league. When you got Brian Branch and you got Kirby Joseph, I believe, what is Kirby like? We're 20-0 and Kirby has an interception, some crazy stat like that. But those safeties will help the cornerbacks out. I'm telling you, man, they will lift them up. It's going to be a hell of a game. I believe it'll be a hell of a game.
But Gary, I want to ask you this. For the Lions, you got to remember their head coach is a former NFL tight end, blocking, physical, got coached by Bill Parcells, the Bill Belichick tree. So the idea is that the mindset is, and to help kind of round it out, no, the idea is to win the game. That's why they have the talent, and they've won a lot of games. They won 15 games last year. But the idea is in a game that's rugged, in a game that involves most people believing that the game is won in the trenches, that it's a game that involves physicality and who's going to end up being the toughest at the end of the day, which means who's going to be committed to blocking, who's going to do all the dirty work to help everybody achieve their goals. The Lions wide receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, making $30 million a year, is out there blocking linebackers. So when I say the team is going to let you know they're in a fight, it's the idea of this football team wants to win by blocking, by playing physical, by winning the battles of the trenches, not in the first quarter, but by the time the game ends in the fourth quarter. And that's where this success has been the mindset that the coach has in regards to the players that he picks and how they play. Like, it is crazy that the Lions wide receivers, the star players, the guys like a Sam Laporta, who you would expect to kind of just want to be a diva and get the ball, they're out there blocking. And you had Brock Wright at tight end, and his task is, hey, go out there and block Trey Hendrickson. Even though there's a 100-pound mismatch, you still believe that, hey, you go out there and win the battle. And in the end, when the 60 minutes are up, if you're the most tough physical team, most of the time you end up on the winning end of the scoreboard. And so far, it's hard to argue Dan Campbell is a winning coach after his early run. Dan Campbell is right up there now with Andy Reid as one of the best 1-2 coaches in the whole league.
It used to be the strongest, but now it's the smartest. You got, Andy Reid, he's smarter in some cases. I mean, this year's kind of, a little rocky because, people picking up on stuff. But like, that's why I say, the big tough man. And when you think, you're like, damn, Patrick's going to say, I'm going to push the defense and then I'm going to run for 15 to 20 yards. And now what other teams are doing, they're pushing the defense, and every other quarterback want to play just like Patrick. I'm only saying, like, Jared Goff, he's doing his thing, right? But he ain't tough, if you ask me. He's not tough if you ask me. The toughest person y'all got on that team is that running back. That's it. Well, I'm going to say, a few guys on defense, I'm talking big-time crap right now. I think my defense...
I love it.
I'm like, they want to beat me up because my brother-in-law, he's a Lions fan too. So yeah, no. I just think that Kansas City is going to outsmart the Detroit Lions.
Okay, here's what the commenters say: going to take you out to the deep end and hold you down. Chiefs this time is outgunned. That's what the people are saying.
Okay, we're gonna see, because I'm gonna tell you what. Last week was an upsetting game, and you don't want to upset these. You don't want to upset Pat, man. You don't want to upset Pat, man. Pat is upset right now because he's feeling like we're on the rocks, and he's gonna come out and he's gonna pick them. He's gonna pick them boys apart. Watch. And I want all of y'all on here to call me and say, Gary, we apologize for what we said.
Well, I'll tell you what he won't do.
We know where your lead decides, Gary. What will the final score be? Why do you got the Chiefs winning?
I say Chiefs winning because I think, we're going to outskill them. You know what I mean? Detroit is tough, but we're going to outskill them. I say 38 to 24. Chiefs winning.
38-24, 2 touchdowns. Nice. All right. Gaz, what do you got as the prediction? What do you think happens this Sunday night football, prime time matchup? Chiefs and the Lions.
Let me throw Gary some love before I start ruining dreams here. Okay. I'll say this, Gary. I mean, clearly the proof's in the pudding. I mean, the Chiefs are winning Super Bowls, and it seems like the NFL reacts to what the Chiefs are doing. So I will give you all the credit in the world for that. But this week, to me, this game is all about what's going to happen on the Detroit offensive line. There's one injury on the offensive line we're concerned with. It's Taylor Decker. He either plays or he doesn't, and he's replaced by a backup, Giovanni Manu, who is young. He's raw. He had some mistakes last week, gave up some sacks, but he's improving. And ultimately, this team is made off of the running game between Sonic and Knuckles. If Kansas City can control the Lions' rushing attack, then this is a whole different story. But nobody's been able to do that so far, and I don't see that happening here in week 6. So if the Lions offensive line holds up, that makes Jared Goff, who you called soft today, a better quarterback. I think you're going to see a different side of him. It's that offensive line, my man. So it's going to be a great matchup. I can't wait to see it. And it's going to be what happens right there.
John had to go. He gives us an hour, and we're lucky to have him. This was a great show. You guys can't hear me?
I got you,
No,
Darcy.
I have a hard time hearing Johnny. I haven't heard him the whole show.
Can't hear me? Well, let's just end the show.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay,
let me get my prediction real quick, Gary. I'm going to say the Lions 37, Chiefs 24. Let's go 13 good guys. I think that Kansas City they'll be out for a revenge game since we beat them last and to bounce back from Jacksonville. But I'll say this, and I'm not trying to be cocky or arrogant. Can't hear me? I will say this. We aren't Jacksonville. Go Lions.
I'm with you, Donnie. I got it at
Darcy?
34-21.
I believe we're having some volume or technical difficulties. Can you hear me, Darcy?
Man, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. I mean, I think during the Detroit Lions show, the fans out there are passionate, one of a kind. And so appreciate the work that you guys doing. Appreciate you guys having me on. I do Believe in Lions podcast on the Believe Network with my co-host, Jack Kavanaugh, who's actually from Canada as well. And we talk